Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous.
China has a plan. It wants to dominate the Earth by 2049. In fact, it wants to dominate more than just the Earth. It wants to dominate the solar system. Oh, and by the way, it wants to dominate the universe. Yes, the entire universe. And there's something strange about this incredible ambition. China's determination to dominate the solar system is one of the reasons that China may indeed have a shot at dominating the Earth. There's a reason. The resources of space are vast. A single mid-sized asteroid named Ammon contains $20 trillion worth of nickel, iron, cobalt, platinum, and gold. 20 trillion is equivalent to the entire gross domestic product of the United States for a year. But there's more. Solar power harvested in space can supply all the energy the Earth needs without generating carbon. In other words, space solar power can cut humankind's greenhouse gases dramatically. It can make the leading greenhouse gas contributor cow farts. More to the point, whoever owns space solar power and asteroid mining will own the last half of the 21st century. And the Chinese know it. Why report on this now? Because two things have just happened that set off warning sirens. Warning sirens about China's plans and about our stagnation. A geopolitical analyst named Namrata Goswami, a friend of mine, delivered 27 pages of testimony this week to the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, and the Pentagon just put its annual China Military Power Report out. The Pentagon Report was so disturbing that on Friday, May 3rd, Fox News anchor Shepard Smith bypassed the usual news about Trump, Mueller, and the so-called Gang of Angry Democrats and made the Pentagon Report the lead of his hour-long news show. Smith took the long-term threat from China very, very seriously. And Smith is not your ordinary Fox News anchor. He is straight down the middle. He is at least as sympathetic to Democrats as he is to Republicans. He's also intelligent and a maverick. Smith knows that we owe our daily sense of confidence to our position as top nation in the pecking order of nations. And he knows that we will suffer if we lose that position. You and I will suffer personally if we become number two. Our spirit will be kicked in the knees. The spirit that we don't see, but that is with us every day, shoring us up or tearing us down. Shepard Smith also knows that China is using its technological advances to impose the Chinese way of doing things on an increasing number of countries. The Chinese way of doing things means no freedom to criticize your government. It means a rigidly controlled internet. It means the use of facial recognition technology and the tools of the surveillance state to keep you and me in line. In short, it means an end to freedom. It means an end to liberty. It also means becoming a member of a second-class race. We don't talk about it, but China is racist. China replaces the native people of any area it takes over with Han Chinese, and it turns the remaining natives of that area into second-class citizens. That's exactly what China has done in the land of the Dalai Lama, Tibet, and it's what China is doing right now in its far west Muslim province of Xinjiang. It's said that hundreds of thousands of Xinjiang's native population, the Uyghurs, are imprisoned in re-education camps right now, today. And someday, the folks in those re-education camps could be you or me, or your kids. Let's look at our current military situation. Our dominance is based on what is called power projection, our ability to seize the airspace over a territory that is giving the world trouble, then being able to land troops quickly. How do we get air superiority? With our aircraft carriers, but those aircraft carriers have a problem. They are sitting ducks. There are only 11 of them. Yes, 11. Roughly 20 years ago, the Russians developed a supersonic ramjet-powered cruise missile that can fly just over the surface of the water, that can zig and zag to evade an aircraft carrier's defenses, and that can carry, guess what? A nuclear warhead. Why a nuclear warhead? To melt an aircraft carrier down to the waterline, or to melt 11 aircraft carriers down to the waterline and leave us defenseless. Where did the Chinese come into this? They bought those Sunburn anti-aircraft carrier missiles from the Russians and did what the Chinese always do. They retro-engineered the missiles, captured the Sunburn missile's technological secrets, then worked to imitate and to upgrade the missile. Now both Russia and China are working on producing hypersonic missiles for a similar purpose, missiles that can travel at 6 times the speed of sound. Meanwhile, for power projection, we also rely on our satellite system. That system, with its GPS and its live pictures of what's going on the ground, guide smart weapons and troops. They allow troops to communicate with each other and with commanders in the United States. Way back in 2007, the Chinese launched their first anti-satellite weapon and used it to destroy one of their own satellites. What have the Chinese been doing with that anti-satellite technology since 2007? They've mass-produced anti-satellite weapons that can be launched from the surface of the Earth. They've pinpointed our satellites, and they have well-trained crews manning their anti-satellite missiles morning, noon, and night. Do we have anything of the sort? No. Then there's China's new alternative to our GPS, the Baidu navigation system. Established with 18 satellites in 2018, the goal is to have 35 satellites by 2020. China sees the Baidu system as a way to pull together the 65 nations and 4.4 billion people of its new Silk Road, its Belt and Road Initiative, its next-generation transport system. Who has signed on to the Belt and Road and its satellite navigation system? China throws an annual Belt and Road Summit. In 2017, the participants in the first Belt and Road Summit included the heads of 28 states, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, Vietnamese President Tran Dai Quang, and Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The summit was also attended by heads of states from Switzerland, Italy, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Kenya, and Nigeria. That's pretty damned impressive. And it's a sign of how successfully China is working to establish itself as the new world-straddling superpower, the new hegemon. To quote Namrata Goswami's testimony to the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission this week, quote, China has signed 121 cooperation agreements with 37 countries and 4 international organizations. Goswami then gets down to the details. She says that China has signed bilateral agreements with Russia, the European Space Agency, Brazil, Chile, France, the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, Algeria, Argentina, Belgium, India, Indonesia, and Kazakhstan to strengthen exchanges and cooperation in such areas as space technology, space applications, and space science education and training. What's more, China is requiring that all automobiles manufactured in China be Baidu compatible by 2020. The South Korean phone company Samsung has already built Baidu capabilities into its phones. Adds Goswami, quote, the profits to be earned from this system are estimated to be $57 billion in 2020. Far more ominous is the fact that China has positioned itself to take over the global telecommunications market. All of it. How? You and I have 3G or 4G phones. The next big step is 5G, which will allow dramatically faster uploads and downloads and whole new forms of data exchange. The Chinese company Huawei has developed 5G technology that goes far beyond what our companies can offer. To quote Goswami again, Huawei, quote, has signed 25 memorandums of understanding that includes Britain's British Telephone, Bell Canada, France's Orange, Germany's Deutsche Telekom, and global player Vodafone, which is a big player in India. Huawei is investing in AI as well, artificial intelligence. How has Huawei become the biggest telecom equipment company in the world? And how has it gotten a leap on us in 5G? Huawei has a team working on research and development. That's normal, right? But the size of that team is 80,000 people. Unbelievable. And the man who founded Huawei, Zhang Fei, is close to the military. Says The Guardian he has had long ties with both the People's Liberation Army, where he served as an engineer, and the Communist Party. No wonder word has it that when you go with Huawei, you open yourself to being spied on by Beijing. For example, the Chinese built a new headquarters in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa for the African Union. It was a $200 million building, but it was soon said that the building was sending massive amounts of African Union data back to Beijing. The word was that Beijing could now see everything done in the offices and corridors of Africa's leading multi-governmental organization. The Chinese claimed that this was a lie concocted by the Western powers to discredit Beijing. But given the fact that China spies on America's most advanced companies and has apparently stolen all of our major technological secrets, who knows? Remember, the Chinese stole the plans for one of America's most advanced jets, the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor, then produced an upgraded copy of their own called the J-20. Then there's the vision thing. Space makes Americans under the age of 65 yawn. But China's leader, Xi Jinping, has put space in the very center of what he calls the Chinese dream. And he has inserted that space dream into the Chinese constitution. Now let me repeat that. Xi Jinping has inserted his long-term vision for China's future dominance in space into the Chinese constitution. Xi has also instituted an annual space day to keep space alive in his citizens' minds and emotions. Xi also speaks at meetings of space experts whenever he can. He has shown how crucial space is to his vision of Chinese dominance by putting 120 organizations under the control of the Chinese Academy of Space Technology. And he compares the Chinese space race to something absolutely holy in the modern Chinese secular religion. He compares his space vision with China's Long March, which puts space way, way up there on China's emotional, physical, and economic priority list. Oh, and one more thing. America has been diddling about harvesting solar power in space and transmitting it to Earth. Dr. Peter Glaser, an immigrant from Czechoslovakia to America, invented the idea in Massachusetts in 1971. It's only in the last 2 years that Northrop Grumman has finally given a budget of $17 million to a team at Caltech to come up with a practical way to implement space solar power. But China has been working on space solar power for roughly 20 years. And it's just inaugurated its first factory for space solar power components in Chongqing's Bijan district. Again, space solar power is the energy system of the future. And asteroids and the moon are the future resource base. The Chinese know this. We don't. So we are dropping the ball, and China is running with it. We Westerners have only one thing that may save us: private initiative. We have Elon Musk, who will get us to Mars come hell or high water with or without NASA. Musk now has 72 successful rocket launches under his belt, launches that have put satellites in orbit, and he's about to perform his 17th International Space Station resupply mission. Then we have Jeff Bezos, who wants to build who wants to build an infrastructure in space. Bezos has just had his 11th successful launch of his rocket, the New Shepard, to the edge of space. And we have Israel's Space IL, which just got its first lunar lander within 6 miles of the moon's surface. Soon we may have others. But one way or the other, we have to beat the Chinese down here on Earth, and we have to beat them in opening our next source of riches and of new opportunities: space. Now look, I'm an American chauvinist. I want tolerance, freedom of speech, and democracy to lead the world. I hope that you do too. And that means leading in technology and leading in space. This is Howard the Humongous, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make, and it's a serious business from which we can glean enormous joy. Now, for the insidious, slimy, sleazy, sneaky little off button, the button that spies on me.